My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is criminal summoning. This is stalking by a fire department. That is also demon possessed. That's impossible light. Audible activity, relevant positioning, and light activity, both by the trucks. Stalking with 9TLW 530 that has engineer light coming, fanning on the ground in front of the vehicle, 7YNL 656. And this is occurring. It's light activity not only based on the demons that are manifesting as they create light activity using a fire, it's also light activity while they're moving in the engineered environment. This isn't sunlight, nor is this the sun.
And this is the same position that it's in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on November 25th, 2025, same time. This is all stalking, P.O.C, audible activity, relevant positioning. Criminal summoning is a federal offense, is an act of terrorism, and it's massive facilitation by demons. 8 SAU 499, where LAPD is in Los Angeles and runs over a young man in the middle of the road on a skateboard. They're engaged in what is surveillance in Los Angeles throughout the state of California, as the Ontario Fire Department is exhibiting. It's criminal surveillance conduct, meaning they know exactly what is and where they are and what they're doing. Moreover, they're engaged in what is inhumane means of surveillance, because these are demons who are monitoring, including while they sound sirens and use lights. It's not the ignorance. It's at the peak of knowledge regarding identity, while criminal activity and demonic activity is combined regarding what is gang stalking, which I was also subject to in Los Angeles, California. The fake sun, again, being over this same address at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the unprecedented act of terrorism, gang violence by the city of Ontario. This is P.O.C. This is the conspiracy to murder, which the Los Angeles Police Department committed. And it's premeditated murder. It's not an accident. P.O.C. It is currently 9:02 a.m. at 536 North Euclid Avenue. This is stalking, and this is stalking. It's actually surrounding by demons who are obsessively monitoring. The entity is amplifying plane activity as though you could hear a takeoff from the air. You can't. And that's also not a takeoff, and it is advancing north as I'm walking on Lemon Avenue. As I begin recording, they're engaging in the U-turn conduct, which is also not a landing or a takeoff having anything to do with what are published on the Ontario International website. These are demons that are gang stalking with the city of Ontario, conspiring my murder together and keeping the evidence, keeping my devices under surveillance, which is directly relevant to the knowledge that the Los Angeles Police Department maintain while they hit someone in the middle of the street. Being in the middle of the street is not assumption of risk conduct. It's not the entity that's engaged in what is commensurate acts of negligence. This is murder. The entity is engaging in this under the fake sun, where I am here doing the 11 a.m. hour. It's 10 o'clock in the morning right now. 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm at 221 North Fern Avenue. This is the entity that knows exactly who you are and where you're at, including when you're in the middle of the street. It's premeditated murder under all circumstances. While the entity that is the same entity, Los Angeles Police, the city of Los Angeles, the state of California, engage in criminal surveillance, and they commit murder while they engage in surveillance that they are not telling you about, while they, on the surface, assess things and refer to them as accidents and ongoing investigations before they render conclusions, while they are not telling you that they are engaged in surveillance stalking like the city of Ontario is, using commercial planes and helicopters, which is exactly the same pattern of conduct that the Los Angeles Police Department, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the city of Los Angeles, and the people of the state in the city of Los Angeles, the demon-possessed, kept me subject to as I documented it in 2024 and before 2024, under both Michael Moore, domestic terrorist leader of LAPD, and Dominic Choi, and the current terrorist leader over LAPD. They are still engaged in surveillance gang stalking. That was murder. It is currently 10:01, and this is psychopathic pacing. 7JBK234 doesn't have an ability for that vehicle to shoot light toward me while they are driving under what is not the sun. That's the P.O.C. Stalking by an airport. P.O.C.
Are full of fear, stuck in old stories and remembered glories. We grow critical of one another and of ourselves. We even wonder whether Jesus is near. Then our desire to rejoice sputters in frustration and impatience. Restore us, yearn for God. For your joy is not our accomplishment, but your gift. Set us on the Advent, forgiven and healed, rejoicing in your glory and majesty. Amen. Advent, people of God, as those ransomed by the Lord, walk the holy way where no traveler goes astray. Come rejoicing and singing, knowing that sorrow and sighing shall flee, and that God's everlasting joy shall surround and hold you. As we come now to our I especially want to call to mind and pray for the people of Bondi Beach in Florida. There was, for those who do not know, I don't think they've been found, but shooters opened up on a Hanukkah ceremony there, and at least 10 people were killed. Others injured. This is in also Brown University shooting. These were the two big things that I saw. I know there are others, but I especially wanted to remember those as we're here in the first take of conference. So we remember those. Who else has some preference? Any other?
Yeah, my dear friend up in Washington, Debbie, is this morning attending church at her sister's church. Because her sister, who just lost her husband, is bravely continuing on and doing their Christmas cantata this morning. So she's there to support her. But she was telling me something yesterday that Sharon thinks she needs to go to church and be cheerful when people come and talk to her about her husband Al. And I answered Debbie and said, no, she shouldn't have for those people. She should be letting them know how she feels. And then cry with her and provide the shoulder. And I just thought about this church and how you all supported me after I lost my run. And I just hope that she can let her church support her in the way you all do. So just prayers for Sharon that she can let her church be her support in this time of grief. And for Debbie as she struggles with how to support Sharon herself. They have not always gotten along well.
I want to show you the vantage point where impossible light activity is appearing on the inside of the church. Satan is very, very subtle. Not subtle with the stalking, the aerial surveillance, not subtle with the fake sun. You are listening to audible activity under the guise of a church service. People have church services to worship Satan. People have church services to worship other people. It is all idolatry, and it's occurring under the fake sun. And there's no vantage point, moreover. Those are demons in there, referring to tragedies, people dying, and they're monitoring me to it. It's demonic. And the same spirit that's outside gang stalking, the spirit of Satan, is inside of a fake church service. None of them know Christ Jesus, number one, and they're all criminal defendants conspiring murder under the guise of maintaining a fake church service. This is P.O.C. That's demon possession. The demon possessed congregate. There's no sunlight that's going to move inside of the venue through these windows. That's P.O.C.
So let me invite you to worship. Please stand if you are here. Rejoice. We are happy to be.
Good morning.
We are anticipating the coming of Jesus, celebrating because our lives are joyous connection to God's beloved, our Eve. As God's people, we gather, sing, and drink to the gladness.
This is impossible light activity. All the demon possessed maintain the pattern of conduct by fake churches. This is relevant positioning. They're gang stalking on the opposite side of the wall, crossing path, all of them crossing path, and engineered light.
God of all peace and joy, as we live on this sovereignty of the Advent.
This is the concentrated light. Engineer light is flying in the air. That's how my shadow is appearing upright on the wall. And it's impossible light activity. It's 11:32 a.m. at 536 North Euclid Avenue. Across the street is the bus stop where I wake up, and this fake sun is in the same position over this building while I'm on the bus bench at that bus stop. That's during the 7 a.m. hour. This is P.O.C. They're engaged in vagina monitoring. License 5, Mary Thomas Thomas 591. 2, Edward Kelly 1268. 9, Sam Queen Victor 762, I believe, and Impossible Light in the shade on the curb. And what you're looking at is the exact same location where I was at, where criminal summoning, which is a federal offense when the entity is sounding the sirens, and this is the identification of the entity. This is also the evidence for what you need to recognize in the United States as criminal surveillance, and it's demonic activity that is unveiled. And I'm at the same exact location I was at 9 o'clock in the morning. Criminal summoning is at which the population is sharing in, while the entity that is 1661786, vehicle 1056, and that's the agency that is stalking, and they've done it on video for years. They are being disbanded. When they're sounding their sirens, they're engaging in criminal monitoring and surveillance with the people of the state. The same demons, by the way, that are stalking and molesting with Impossible Light. The same demons that are patrolling as one entity in various persons are maintaining presence in an environment that remains over the targeted individual, the individual that is under surveillance. The entity, for example, a victim of what is premeditated murder by the entity that is stalking. That's what Ontario Police Department are doing. They're stalking. At 9 a.m. and what is 12:51 p.m., the Ontario Fire Department is, again, under the corrupt leadership of Michael Gerken, a domestic terrorist leader who is engaging in the city's pattern of conduct of stalking. That's the entity that is stalking using commercial planes right now. Doing so in relevant position. If you can, let me try to zoom in so you can see that. That's the entity that was doing the same thing at the back portion of this same building. And this is the entity that's engaging what is getting in alignment to me and making a U-turn. It has nothing to do with a legitimate operation of an airport. And they're doing so under the fake sun that's over the same person at the same address. This is where the entity is engaged in surveillance. The sunrise, where Jay Sandoval is communicating a threat to commit kidnapping while that agency and that demon wearing that police uniform is stalking. And this is science that's going to prosecute the demon-possessed, jury-infected pools, okay, that are engaging in what is ongoing facilitation of criminal surveillance when those who are guilty are not held accountable under the law. And this is relevant to gang stalking courts, demon-infected courthouses, ongoing bias with regard to the administration of the law and justice, okay? This is the entity that's engaging in surveillance together that kidnaps, threatens you, engages in what is sexually violating you, engages in what is defaming you, stealing from you, stealing your identity while they know exactly who you are. And that is relevant, all of that, while the entity shares in what is criminal surveillance. The entity that sounds its sirens and turns on its lights is engaging in that criminal pattern of conduct. It's criminal summoning in concert with the population. So when LAPD is hitting that American citizen in the middle of the street, whether that was a third-party gang stalking demon or not, it's an American citizen. The impropriety of what the government is doing is revealing what is surveillance and malicious acts of violence with the population, staring at their devices, stalking you under a fake sun, keep you under surveillance and furtherance of murdering you. And they know exactly who you are. LAPD committed premeditated murder with the demons that were in that street. This is, first of all, a senior citizen complex, and this is the airport that's been maintaining ongoing stalking as an entity in concert with the people of the state. It is currently 7:43 p.m. This is the Ovid Family Community Library, and that's my shadow at a distance back here. While I am being monitored by the population, and here's a shadow down here, just so you can see the environment where an airport is stalking, okay? Remember what the entity is doing while I am at all locations, including on Euclid Avenue, where I'm at the bus stop at F Street in Euclid. This is C Street. So the entity is stalking, acting like you're taking off here. And it's a poor act. It's not an act. It's blatant stalking, because the airport is not only south of Hope Boulevard, meaning you're not coming from the airport flying east over here. You have to fly north to be here. And then you're hovering as though you are mimicking a takeoff. These are demons that are unintelligent under a fake sun, stalking as an airport, and doing so while there is already evidence that the government is stalking an American citizen that has documented it from beginning to end, proving unprecedented criminal conduct, which is tantamount to what is terrorism, and they're still engaging in it with the demons who are the people of the state. Those are the demons that stalk with Impossible Light, maintain surveillance, including in bathrooms, and are doing so in plain sight, because that's what that is. That's a demon in engineer light. Look at my shadow over here. They're all stalking while the entity is maintaining that pattern of conduct. Targeting me just like you saw with the fake sun and engineer light. My images on the Google Drive is what I'm referring to. That engineer light that was appearing underneath here after 4 p.m. and the fake sun was still here shining, reflecting off of these windows. That's what these demons are doing, stalking me, targeting me with light while I'm on the side over here. And this is what is targeting with light, engineer light as well, when you have the multiple shadows. The airport is stalking, has been engaged in it. And the entity is engaging in that with impunity. That is the impunity with which the city of Ontario, that is the entity, the U.S. government, has conspired my murder and continuously engages in terrorism, even as I expose it in real time on the World Wide Web. And that's directly relevant to the criminal and civil cases that are going to be occurring. P.O.C. It is currently 7:45 p.m. at the Ovid Family Community Library. All right. Offenders stalking, Sarah's Regis Group, Ovid Family Community Library. These are the demon-possessed people of the state. These are sex offenders that are stalking in the middle of the night, and they are so mentally ill, they're not embarrassed to be stalking a woman together, conspiring a murder, and it's all over the internet, and they're still stalking, they're still openly obsessed. Stalking, and the entity is going to be prosecuted for this. This is 320 North Euclid Avenue, Sarah's Regis Group. It's stalking. You got demons engaging in surveillance in the parking lot. Looks like a Latino male, license 8THB272, stalking with the sex offender that accelerates into the Sarah's Regis Group downtown Ontario luxury apartment parking garage, which I took a picture of. These are demons that are stalking with impossible light activity. It's a direct threat pose while that impossible light activity touches your body. It's a sex offense, and it's a sex act that third party with that license plate shares in, while this stalker is sitting in a parking garage stalking a woman. And he's got a co-defendant. These are 2 people in agreement to stalk me. And this is a whole population that engages in that. The demon-possessed are the ones that are so psychotic, that are so obsessed, and their obsession with a stranger, because I am a stranger in the physical, I've never met these people, but they're demon-possessed. It is Satan that is possessing people, and these people are obsessively stalking me, and they're doing so while I'm even putting it on the internet, and they're still stalking. 8HZT415, 8SUS710, 7XHP195, 8 Apple Mary Uncle 575. These are just a sample of the demons that are in parked in relevant position, sharing in sexual violence, in addition to what is Securitas. The airport that I'm capturing on video is stalking. This is sexual violence and furtherance of murder that the government's going to be prosecuted for. This is, in other words, why a population of stalkers are following me around and engaging what is demented and what is demonic. The demonic means of sexual violence is relevant to an unlawful threat to my life and safety. You have psychopaths that are obsessively stalking me on behalf of the government, and terrorists like Mike Lorenz and Jason Fields and Tracy Banks and Eric Corey Spencer, etc. They're going to prison for this. The ordinary target individual is defamed and they lose their lives, and you never hear the truth about what happened, such as I was married to Jason Fields and I killed myself, or I'm a prostitute married to Jason Fields and my John killed me and that's why he gets all my money and property. And you don't know that I was never married to Jason Fields, that he's a gang stalking psychopath, that he's a corrupt government official that stole my identity along with his sex partner, my mother, and targeting me with the government. You never hear that part. When they're defamed and they're already 6 feet under, that's why they're going to prison. It is terrorism. License 9UEZ325. This is what an entity engages in, and when you don't have the evidence, it is unbelievable that the government is stalking an American citizen. It is unbelievable, outside of evidence of what is the supernatural, the practice of witchcraft, demon possession, the fake sun and the engineered light, et cetera, that a population is stalking you. And it's all proven. And science also further corroborates that, proves it, prosecutes them. And that's why they're going to prison. That's why. Because of the size of the crime, of the violation, and the identity of the actor. It is the government itself. 87335J3. 9 Robert Charlie James 494. Sitting in the parking garage at the Tesla charge station, stalking. License plate. And so is Sarah's Regis Group. I'm going to prosecute every business, and the government's already prosecuted. This is the prosecution of the people of the state. That's why they're engaging with a stalking with impossible light, because they are gang stalking with the government. The government is doing it with apartment complexes, doing it with businesses. This is what Wells Fargo is doing. This is what the demons that live at the apartment complex, parking at the apartment complex, working at the apartment complex, where the fake sun, the engineered light, the government is stalking with planes and helicopters engaged in that. License 9 Victor Indiana Thomas 648. Surrounding from all directions. Sarah's Regis Group is going to be prosecuted for terrorism. 6SBA 793. While that demon, license 8THB272, whose license plate I read, was recited, The demons engage in what is surrounding at all directions. This is what the entity is doing on behalf of the government. So I just want to be clear, Michael Lorenz is going to prison as they engage in conduct that they are soliciting on behalf of terrorists who are violent sex offenders who are not keeping custody of kids. They've already been prosecuted in family court. They're not keeping custody of children, and they're being deported. 9MZP663, license 9LDH385, license AY2B9W. 9LDH385 is a demon that's sitting in the parking garage parked and engaged in what is monitoring while these demons surround. Driving in and out of the parking garage while they're targeting, for example, at the Ontario Town Square, those are the demons that are sharing an amplified noise at the same time that impossible light moves across the ceiling of this parking garage. I've already documented the impossible light inside of this parking garage. These are demons, and they engage in that simultaneous, that is gang violence together, in furtherance of murdering somebody that they're stalking as the demon possessed. They are engaged in terrorism, and as you listen to that, as I'm documenting it, that's impunity. This is the entity that's engaged in that. I've already documented the entity that is gang stalking as the gang stalking security guard, stalking with impossible light, following me into the parking lot after I document that psychopath. That's on the record. Sarah Regis is going to be prosecuted, and doing so with the people of the state. EJ66 Nancy 12. That's a couple that is engaged in the P.O.C. Potential immigrants in operation of the communication devices driving in and out of the facilitating venue, which is Sarah Regis Group, Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, filled with what are the people of the state. And so is the company Sarah Regis Group. It is the people of the state. This is P.O.C. This is what the government is engaging in and is facilitating, and is doing so in reliance upon the terrorists that are the people of the state, who are a threat to children, the public, and themselves. This is a suicidal population who commit acts of violence such as gang stalking. P.O.C. License plate 98945 Apple II, monitoring the entire time that I'm inside of the parking garage, engaging in surveillance and relevant position at Wells Fargo. This is the entity that's stalking as a population from place to place. Alrighty, that is again currently what I want to say is 8:25 p.m. This is the entity that is stalking as I go from the library, and as you are aware of the fact that the entity is engaging in things such as murder, what LAPD committed. This is a population that shares in murder with that government. It's not an accident what LAPD committed in the middle of the street, and the people of the state that are around that scene, if you watch that footage, talking about, oh, call the police, or not call the police, call an ambulance. Those are all the people of the state. They share in murdering people together. The demon possessed are psychopath, and they maintain an ongoing illusion regarding what is privacy, regarding what are individuals that are separate and not on the surface connected. These are all demons, and they engage in this surveillance system together. And this is relevant to what LAPD committed when that man on the skateboard was hit by a demon with their sirens and lights on, representing the gang stalkers of the Los Angeles Police Department. While they're gang stalking me in Ontario, this is informing you about the murder that this entity committed in LA. It is 8:26 p.m. That's the threat that the people of the state pose, by the way. They are going to be, like I stated, not keeping custody of children. They are being deported out of this country. And this is speaking to a city of terrorists that are on the map while they're gang stalking me as I'm going from place to place, as my evidence shows, for a term of years. And these terrorists are acting with impunity, outright disregard, and more violence is produced, is inflicted while they're being documented. That's relevant to their mental illness. Psychopaths who are demon possessed. That is the root of their problem, because they are demon possessed. It is currently, again, 8:26 p.m. This is P.O.C. Molesting while stalking with the airport. Another sex offender, license plate 5LJE852. That's a psychopath, a Latina female. She's stalking while the airport is flying, stalking me down what is C Street at Laurel. She's stalking touching with impossible lights, so you're going out of your way to stalk me because your headlights aren't going to touch my face while I'm walking on the sidewalk. You're in the parking lot. And then as I document her co-defendants, including license plate 4HKH319, the demons that are the City of Ontario, I just want to be clear, the entire Ontario board, they're witnessing, and I just want to be clear, they know that they're being prosecuted. The entity knows that they're going to prison. They know that I'm going to gut out the City of Ontario. It's going to be a ghetto. They're giving me all the money. And that's not something that's with regard to, oh, I get to win the lottery. It's that when you have conspired as a government to murder someone with a population as sick as this, it is incalculable. You cannot quantify the harms. But I did document it for years, term of years, while this entity has put out a contract for a population to share in stalking me until they can murder me, and maintaining psychologically torturous conduct such as molestation with impossible light by demons. And the entity's engaged in that, and they will be paying what are damages for it. The entity's engaged in that. She's molesting with impossible light again while the airport is stalking along Laurel and C Street. And as you can hear that plane activity, That's the entity that's doing so while going beyond what is the Ovid Family Community Library, stalking along the path in the engineered environment, doing so with impunity. The Ontario Airport Board, every gang stalking airline with the City of Ontario, and the Ontario Executive Team. Mike LORENZ, the agency, the Ontario Police Department, the gang stalkers who you see, the Ontario Fire Department, stalking me under a fake sun that sits over me at one corner for 4 hours, they're going to be removed from existence. This is not a city that's engaged in anything other than stalking someone that proved it, and there will be no airport that is engaging in what is conspiring murder. And the people of the state, the City of Ontario in particular, every immigrant, every person in a position, this demon has access to minor children in her car while she's stalking another woman and sexually violating her, and doing so with the government that helps her engage and commit that act of terrorism. This is a raging psychopath that is currently in custody of children. While the entity is, it's the same analysis with regard to stalking me with commercial planes. So I just want to be clear. Let me document this license plate again. 5LJE852 is pacing again, crossing path. Doing so, drove out of the parking lot to drive back into the parking lot, and driving out of the parking lot again. She's pacing around me. She's a psychopath. That's a demon, actually, that's engaging what is pacing all around, and that's a demon that's frustrated. That's what the Ontario police do when they're stalking me for an hour, over an hour, in a helicopter flying in circles. This is what this demon is doing in a vehicle because I'm documenting. License 9 Bob Cherry Edward 522. They're all stalking in their homes. Everybody around me is monitoring, and it's beyond the zone of relevant positioning right now. But everyone in their homes, everybody in traffic, everybody on Euclid Avenue, the entity, as I'm going, I am under surveillance, and that includes an airport that is following me street for street, just like when I'm on Omnitrans and the fake sun is street for street and turn for turn, the entirety of the bus route, the entity is stalking. This is P.O.C. This is an ongoing unlawful threat, such as Trace and Fields. They're going to federal prison. They're going to prison, and they are not collecting $200. They're not passing go. They're going to prison. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, criminal summoning. The entity is engaged in surveillance by the use of sirens and lights on emergency vehicles. Again, this is the entity that committed murder in Los Angeles. This is the system that the people of the state share in with the public entity. 9 P.O.F. 289. Stalking at what is stated by the 646 West Hope Boulevard, where I'm showing you the fake sun remaining for 3 hours in the parking lot, 7 to 10 a.m. 9 TEK 674 when it's over me at Ovid Family Community Library at 10 a.m., but not when I'm at a particular location. That's how you know that location, in concert with the state that uses sirens and lights to engage in surveillance, they're demons. 9 TEK 674, 8 SWK 225, that's a demon with their vehicle lights on as a method of light activity. 7 WID 619. And the Ontario Village Shopping Center, every storefront inside of the village is a means of documenting and prosecuting the people of the state. By place of employment, by transactions, all manner of documentation of the criminal conduct that is supplemental to what I'm documenting. In addition to that, the entity that's engaging what is the use of its sirens and lights on Hope Boulevard, driving what is east as I'm approaching the venue, as the people of the state are sharing with what is audible activity, they're pacing all around an engineer light, okay? The entity is engaging in this. I've already shown you stalking by helicopter, where Safeguard on Demand is threatening to call the police that are stalking in the video, and that, moreover, because I'm taking pictures of the sky. This is where the demon possessed are engaging in surveillance using their lights and sirens. And while the entities engaged in surveillance commit premeditated murder under the malicious guise of it being an accident, where you're ignorant about the co-defendant, who are the population of the demon possessed, the mentally ill terrorists, who are the people of the state that are engaging in molesting as a sex offender. As I'm uploading images onto the Stater Brothers Wi-Fi network, they're also monitoring and sharing in sexual violence with the City of Ontario that's sounding sirens. This is license A as in Apple 901 Edward 0. They're combining that audible activity with the demon that's by the shopping carts. This is gang conduct. So like when I'm in the parking garage and you hear the ignition at the same time that the demons, as I'm describing it, they begin surrounding me, molesting with light. This is gang violence, and in that same manner, this entity commits murder. They do so under the guise of what is also criminal summoning, as I'm continuously reminding you about the murder that the Los Angeles Police Department committed while they are engaged in this very system of criminal surveillance amongst the mentally ill that are the people of the state that are stalking at Stater Brothers at 646 West Hope Boulevard. Sex offender license 9 Larry Mary Xavier 283. Doing so with sex offender molesting, coming straight down the aisle, molesting with impossible light. That is license plate 04582 Frank 3. This is P.O.C. and Stater Brothers. You have Mr. Quinones, a sex offender, a terrorist leader, while Isaiah and you have every other employee, Erica, Kia, and Frank, who are sharing in vagina monitoring, who are sharing in sexual violence with the demon-possessed entity that's stalking in a grocery store, in the same way that they were stalking at apartment complexes and in parking garages, stalking on the roads and the highways, stalking as an entity inside of places like libraries. This is the mentally ill that do commit murder together as an entity. This is P.O.C. While the entity is engaged in federal stalking, and they are very much interested in blocking what is uploading the podcast onto Spotify, creatorspotify.com. This is what the federal stalking criminal conduct of Stater Brothers, the people, the entity, are engaging in, the inability to access that pursuant to what is federal stalking surveillance on the internet. The entity is engaging in that with regard to obstruction of justice, protecting co-conspirators of murder like Jason Fields, who wants to keep off the podcast the fact that he engineered a marriage to me on paper so that I would be murdered through this very system while he's been stealing my money, while he's been keeping me under surveillance, while he is a demon, a cult member, engaging what is this criminal system as this entity of demons that engage in targeting and surveillance in the United States. Keeping that information, which it's not, but this is the criminal conduct, the psychopaths that are delusional and short-sighted. I'm going to publish it, and I'm also going to publish the entity that's engaging in what is monitoring on the internet to block my ability to access it, which you do not have a right to do. And there is no disclaimer. Stater Brothers is engaging in that while they are engaged in what is federal stalking and furtherance of murder. There is no disclaimer and there is no privacy with regard to your ability to engage in that on behalf of the government in concert with the state. And I will prosecute. It's a threat to my life. Jason Fields is still threatening my life and engaging in what is seeking to obstruct justice. Delusional. I'm going to court. He's going to prison. I will be testifying, and all of this evidence is going to be used not only against him, but the entire entity. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:07 p.m. at 646 West Holt Boulevard.